जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा। विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा। तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे। गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Good morning all. I welcome you all to the 30th World Conference on Applied Science, Engineering and Technology. 30th WCASET 2020 is organized by Institute for Engineering Research and Publication, IFERP.
Welcome to IFERP, a forum where innovations and research interest could be supported and developed, prioritizing our mutual interest. In this video, we want you to dive into our world, giving yourself a clear insight into IFERP. But first, who are we and what do we do? Institute for Engineering Research and Publication, IFERP for short, is one of the world's largest non-profitable professional associations operating under the Technoarete Research and Development Association, TRADA, meant for research and development in the field of engineering, science and technology. We are one of the largest professional bodies for engineering professionals in India and across the globe, established in 2014. We extend to every part of the globe, with more than 28,000 professional members and 34,000 student members. Our growing membership at IFERP has led to an increase in members from Europe, Asia, Australia, Africa and the USA, fostering networking opportunities that strengthen ties within and across countries and technical communities. The mission of IFERP is to connect professionals at an integrated platform for growth to divert knowledge and skills towards the sustainable application of professional education and more. And our vision of digitalizing innovation processes through our professional networking services and more has pushed us forward to our achievements today. With our mission to make our academic services reach the top and grassroots level of institutions, we are funding colleges to organize conferences and scientific events, enabling researchers incubated at different areas of our country to directly contribute towards the transformation of India. IFERP simply connects engineers, exchange global innovation, and acts as a bridge between researchers and academics by organizing international conferences, world conferences, faculty development programs, webinars, seminars, providing membership, and more. Some of our conferences include WCASET Malaysia, WCASET Jakarta, ICAS ETAM APU Malaysia, and many more. We've also organised scientific events in association with renowned universities done in the past, with over 28,593 journal publication services, creating opportunities to get your research paper published in high impact factor journals such as Scopus Indexed, Web of Science, Google Scholar Index journals, ESCI, UGC approved, L Compandax, ISI, Shimago Index journals, and many more. To make our operations smoother and more perfect, we have been supported by our associated organisation, Association of Cloud Technologists, Global Association of Nanotechnology, International Association for Big Data Analysts, International Association for IoT, International Wireless Network Association, and World Association for Structural Engineers. We have also worked alongside several clients and partners both nationally and internationally like University Malaysia Sabah, APU Malaysia, UNJ Jakarta, MC University Thailand, Ajman University Dubai, PUP Philippines, IIUM Malaysia, ISU Philippines, FCPC Philippines, WCC Philippines SRM University, Galgotia University, Amity University, and much more government and private organizations in different countries. At IFERP, We believe that there's always a better way to treat professionals, and that is what we do. If you would like to see more or go deeper on IFERP, you can visit our website at www.iferp.in.
The context of the 30th WCASET 2020 is to exaggerate the research culture among the academia, industrial professionals, and also to exchange the valuable innovations in an intellectual view. The main objective of WCASET 2020 is to provide a platform for researchers, engineers, academicians, as well as industrial professionals from all over the world to present their research results and development activities in relevant fields of science, engineering, and technology. This conference will provide opportunities for the delegates to exchange new ideas and experience face to face to establish business or research relationship and to find global partners for future collaboration. I would like to welcome all the dignitaries. Firstly, Mr. Rudra Satpathy, CEO and founder of Technoarete Group. Next, I would like to welcome our eminent keynote speaker, Dr. Morris Ezra, Deputy Director at the Institute of Postgraduate Studies and Research, University Tunku Abdul Rahman, UTAR, Kajang, Selangor, Malaysia. Thank you for joining us even during this pandemic situation and imparting your expertise. And I would also like to welcome all the presenters from all over the world who have shared their valuable ideas and innovations in this forum. Next, I welcome Mr. Rudra Satpathy, founder and head of Technoarete Groups, to deliver the welcome address.
World Conference on Applied Science, Engineering and Technology, a flagship brand of IFERP Institute for Engineering Research and Publication, a flagship conference series that has hosted more than 30 conference series in the last 4.5 years. WCASET is a vision of engineers and researchers of Asia Pacific origin. WCASET is a thought process of scientists and scholars all across the globe. WCASET is a brainchild of IFERP and Technoarete Group. Virtual conference of WCASET is being organized this time amid this COVID-19 for the safety and for the security and for good health of our researchers and delegates. Meanwhile, keeping in the priority that COVID-19 doesn't affect the opportunities and the research scopes given by WCASET, we along with several universities of India as well as Asia are organizing this conference online virtual. I extend a warm welcome to all the scholars and delegates all across the globe. The research work submitted in this conference have been undergone peer review process with a sequence of double-blind process in which almost all articles, selected articles will be published in journals, indexed at Scopus or Web of Science. Our researchers and scholars, our delegates are aspirant about the quality of the publication and the quality of the conference. This is the commitment of Technoarete Group and WCASET conference series to the globe and to the academic fraternity. It takes days, it takes months, it takes weeks, it takes years to plan the conferences organized by WCASET and IFERP. So I express my hearty gratitude and thanks to all my colleagues, the organizing committee members, the speakers, the delegates, and the researchers, those who have added their valuable, innovative creations and innovative research work to this conference series, making it worth of attending. In this regard, I express my thanks and gratitude to all and express my hearty welcome to be a part of this conference. I also express my heartful concern about the safety and security of all the researchers and all the organizing committee members and the members of IFERP based in different countries. And I also welcome all the viewers and attendees and the members of IFERP all across the globe watching this conference. And I believe this conference could be a productive one and could contribute towards the academic revolution and industrial revolution 4.0 That is the future and need of the next generation. Thank you very much.
Next, I would like to welcome our eminent keynote speaker, Dr. Morris Ezra, Deputy Director at the Institute of Postgraduate Studies and Research, University Tunku Abdul Rahman, UTAR, Kajang, Selangor, Malaysia, to deliver his keynote address.
Hi, a big hello to everyone. I am Dr. Morris, Deputy Director for the Institute of Postgraduate Studies and Research, University Tunku Abdul Rahman, Malaysia. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Institute for Engineering, Research and Publication for inviting me as the keynote speaker for the 30th World Conference on Applied Science, Engineering and Technology. I would like to congratulate IFERP on organizing the same. Today, I would like to talk on Internet of Things, ride the next innovation wave. Internet of Things is getting very popular these days. This is part of the Industrial Revolution 4.0 as well. This is all about automation. So what is this Internet of Things? And how does it help in the automation? So we'll be looking into that, and also we'll talk something about the big data, the analytics behind it, and what we do in our university. So this diagram actually shows what is Internet of Things. There are two sets of two diagrams. One shows a very general picture on the left. Okay, so here it is about anything, any device, anyone, anybody, any service, any business, any path, any network, any place, anywhere, and anytime, any context. So basically we use internet to connect all of these things, whether it is the human being or the business or industry or using any network or any path. We are not limited to Wi-Fi or 3G or 4G or 5G type of networks. You are on any network, you should be able to connect and then communicate with the servers. And on the right, you will see that what are the types of businesses that can basically use this IoT. Healthcare can use it, building energy management, machinery, logistics, devices, and retail business as well. So let's look into some of these things in brief. Okay, machinery. Machineries can be controlled from a remote place using computers. The machineries the feedback is given by sensors which we mount on the machinery. For example, the pressure, the force, and all those things can be measured using sensors. So these sensors basically communicate back to the computer network using any network. It can be Wi-Fi, it can be Zigbee, or it can be UWB, whatever it is. Okay, and same goes for logistics. Logistics is all these courier services and delivery services. So I think most of you are aware that a lot of these services use real-time tracking of your packages. Okay, for example, you order food, you can track live on a map where the food delivery person is, and you can get ready to receive the package. And also goes for services like Uber and so on. And also devices, you can use your phone to transmit a lot of information. Retail business, the retail business can send a lot of information about what is the stock in the shop and so on. Recently, one of the important advancement is Amazon Shop. So Amazon Shop basically uses a trolley where you can put in the goods and it will be recorded and it will be billed automatically. You remove the goods from the trolley, it will remove the pricing from the billing system as well. So you can in real time, you can basically keep track of what is the stock in the shelf in the supermarket. So this is how retail version can be. Retailers can make use of IoT, and same goes for healthcare. Healthcare, we all know that there are a lot of these health bands, like what do you put on the wrist, like a watch, like Apple Watch or any of these smartwatches these days, or the wristbands which they sell, has got a lot of sensors which can measure heartbeat, it can measure ECG. Apple Watches can measure ECG as well. And now the latest Apple Watch can measure the blood oxygen level as well. And also you have standalone blood sugar meters, instant cholesterol measurement devices, and so on. There are a lot of these healthcare devices, fall indicator and so on. So these can actually transmit data back to the hospital to monitor the healthcare of a patient. Goes for the next is the building energy management. Say for example, your house is connected to the internet, all the switches in the house. You can switch on and switch off anything from a remote place. For example, you leave home for your office, you forgot to switch off the air conditioner in your living room. So when you reach your office, you remember, but nowadays you can't do anything. You will have to go back to turn off the air conditioner. Now, if this air conditioner is connected to the internet, you can take your phone and switch it off. These type of devices are getting more and more popular in the market. Some of the major manufacturers have started putting these devices into the market. And also there are a lot of these switches which connect your which connect to the Wi-Fi is available in the market as well. So in this slide, we can see how all these technologies work together. Okay, you can see there the machineries, sensors, automobiles, power line, buildings, all are connected through a gateway to a network, and the network has got public and private cloud. They have data centers where all these data is collected, and there are servers which do the analytics for you. So this is the structure which is in place now, but certain things are missing now. What is missing is the one on the left side. Okay, a lot of these factories are not currently connected to the network, and same goes for a lot of buildings are not connected and so on. There's a lack of connectivity on this side due to the slow adoption rate. Whereas on the left side, on the right side, what you see on the right side, the information technology, companies have already started putting up the infrastructure. They are ramping up the infrastructure that is available. Microsoft, for example, like Microsoft, Amazon, are all building up their cloud infrastructure so that you can do the analytics on the cloud. Why we say that cloud is very important these days is when you are doing analytics, you need a lot of data crunching to take place. So this level of computing power, yeah, you can have it in your home or office, but it is not economical, basically because you are running only for yourself. But if they are running in the cloud, like for example, Amazon has subscriptions from various clients, so that the cost of this maintaining the server and the cost of data analytics part, all these things are kept low. So let's look into this internet, why it is getting very important these days. You can see here the radio took 38 years to reach 50 million people, and TV took 13 years to reach 50 million people. And you can see here Facebook took only 1 year to reach 50 million people. So this is how fast internet connectivity is exploding across the world. By 2020, it is estimated that we would have exceeded 30 billion connected devices, be it from phones, your television, your computers, your home switches, your washing machines, your air conditioners, and also your cars. A lot of things are connected to the internet these days. So the 30 billion connected devices include all these devices which I just now mentioned. So it is not just only your computers, it is all the devices. Any device is connected to the internet. So it is also estimated that the rate of data generation is outpacing our ability to analyze it. We generate a huge volume of data. For example, you are having your phone and you are driving along the road, and you will see that your phone is actually sending a lot of data back to a lot of servers. For example, one such data is your location data. Google collects all your location data as you travel along the road, the speed at which you travel, the place where you are standing or you are stuck in a traffic. They use this data to generate the traffic pattern on the Google map. So you can basically see the Google traffic before you leave office. So basically this data is being generated every second or every millisecond from your phone, and it is being communicated to Google. So Google, by collecting all this data, is able to understand where you are traveling. Maybe tomorrow when you leave your home, it can tell you automatically, hey, if you are taking this route, it's going to be the traffic is going to be very high. So you can leave your home through a different route to reach your office, or maybe you leave your home early or later where the traffic is much less. So in this way, a lot of improvement to the quality of life happens. Okay, so this is one advantage of this amount of data we generate. And also the challenge is to turn massive data streams from liability to asset. Companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon have learned the art of turning the massive data streams which you generate from the phones and other places into an asset. For example, Google itself may not have any, the company may be valued at say about $1 billion US, for example. Okay, but the data they hold may, if you can generate into an asset, it can basically be evaluated at about $100 billion US. Okay, the 99 billion comes from the data they hold. The data may vary from which websites you are visiting, which they can sell, or which some of the companies can make use of to understand what is your shopping pattern, and some of the companies can understand what is your traveling pattern as well. Okay, so there is a lot of advantages and disadvantages of all these technology that comes into our life as well. Okay, next is that's something about the Internet of Things, how Internet of Things is picking up. The second is analytics. There are two types of analytics predominantly. One is predictive analytics and the other one is prescriptive analytics. Predictive analytics, we are slowly getting there. Prescriptive analytics, we are not there yet. Okay, so what is predictive analytics? Based on the amount of data that has been generated, if I can tell you what will happen to you or what will happen to the traffic tomorrow, then it is called as predictive analytics. It is like telling what will happen in your life. It's like telling what the stars talk about you and so on. Okay, so if I have a huge volume of data for say 10 years, Google can tell how the traffic will be during Deepavali, and the traffic will be like that because Google has got a lot of information about how traffic varies over a period of year, and they can predict and give you some information on that. And prescriptive analytics, we are not there yet, but we are slowly getting there. Companies like Google are trying to do something, for example, to tell what to do if the traffic is too high. too heavy on your route, on your daily office route. Maybe it gives you a suggestion saying that you take a different route, maybe you will reach earlier. So that's what we call as prescriptive analytics. If things are going in the wrong way, then, or if you predict something, then if you can tell the solution, that's what we call as the prescriptive analytics. It may sound quite simple, but it is not that simple as well. For example, if you are diverting me through another route, it is not only I am going through the office, maybe I am just going through the school to drop my kid. So how do you reroute? How do you prescribe a solution for that? So every person has got a different, should have a different solution. For example, if 10 people leave from the same apartment to the same office, but 10 people, it is not one solution works for all. Maybe I drop my kid and go, maybe the other person drops his wife in another office, take a different route. So everyone needs a solution. So that's how difficult the prescriptive analytics is going to be. And if there are about 30 billion devices, or even we'll come down to a lower number, we are talking about the world population of about 7 billion. If you want to give a solution for 7 billion people, imagine the amount of computer power you need, okay, and also how you optimize your software and everything. Okay, so this is the analytics value escalator. The first one you see here is the descriptive analytics. This one we have a lot. We have been doing this for a long time. Descriptive analytics is you take a data and tell what is it. Okay, so that is what we call as a descriptive analytics. You take the data and say, hey, today the traffic is heavy. Yeah, it's known. Next comes the diagnostic analysis. Why did it happen? Also, we are doing this now. For example, why there is a traffic jam in this route? Because there is a problem with the signal in the front, in the junction there. So we are able to diagnose the problem, and we can tell why the traffic jam happened. And predictive analytics, we are there, but we cannot say that we are there comfortably. We are still working on that. Can I predict and tell whether there will be a traffic jam or whether there will be a failure of the traffic signal over there? Yes, we can tell if I have enough information about the working of the traffic signal. For example, in the diagnostic analysis, I found out why the traffic signal failed. There are two parts to it, why there is a traffic jam and then why the traffic signal failed. If I can find out why the traffic signal failed, for example, because there was a rise in temperature and what do you call the circuits failed because of there is a high temperature outside, or it was raining and then it got flooded and then water entered into the circuit board and the circuit board got damaged, or maybe there was some fluctuation of current and that's why the traffic signal failed. Okay, so these are some of the diagnostic analysis. I'm just giving you a very simple example. There are so many things you can look into the circuit board itself, why things are failing, and then you can look at the condition which is there today. Okay, is it going to rain? Okay, if it is going to rain, what is the prediction for rainfall to flood that particular area? Or if it is hot, what will be the temperature, and at what temperature the circuit board fails? Okay, you can do all these diagnosis at the background. What will be today's? Okay, it has not happened, but you are looking at some prediction. We now try to predict how will the rainfall be. We use some mathematical models to do that. So take that model and apply it here and see whether you can predict when the traffic signal will fail. That is what we call as predictive analysis. And if it fails, what you should do? Okay, so that is what the prescriptive analysis is. Prescriptive analytics is about. That's optimization. Okay, so you tell them, oh, if the signal fails, immediately the rest of the signals should start changing their timings so that there will be some optimization in the traffic flow, or the softwares, like for people use Google Maps, Waze, and so on. All these maps should be instructed to divert traffic through another route for that particular day. So that is what we call as the prescriptive analytics. Or for example, if I find out that the brakes in the car are going to fail because of due to wear and tear, and I can predict when it will fail, maybe in another week's time the brake has already gone to the minimum level, the brake pads have gone to the minimum level, and then I can tell you something like, hey, you go to the shop, they are giving you 10% discount for changing the brakes, it is somewhere near your house, and it will be cost effective. Or I can tell you that something is near your office, you can do the change. Okay, so that is what we call as the prescriptive analytics, and you provide the solution. This is what we call as the knowledge management cognitive pyramid. Okay, so what we are now is know what. We all know what is happening or what happened. Okay, we are slowly moving into how things happen. Okay, and also we are slowly into going into why things are happening. Okay, so there are a lot of things we need to understand before we know why this particular thing happened. For example, if there is a rainfall, if there is a flood where there shouldn't be a flood, why it happened? Okay, maybe is it because of the climate change, and during the climate change, what changed? Okay, so that is what we call as we need to know why. And if you know how it rains, yeah, everybody knows, but you know why it rained so heavily that it got flooded. Maybe it is because of the climate change. There is a problem with our mathematical model in judging why, to find out why it rains so heavily. So we need to find out what are the reasons for such an event. Okay, so that is what we call as the, once you come to that, we say that's the wisdom. Okay, so if you know it is hot today and it is very humid, and then you can expect a rain, that's what we call as wisdom. So we always say that people in the olden days, they had the wisdom when the rain will come, so they can find out when it will rain or when it is going to rain heavily and so on. They were able to find sense when these things are going to happen. But today we have lost that, but we have something called the technology to support us, and that is where we are trying to make use of all these things to make things happen, okay, to get the wisdom. In this slide, we will see what Internet of Things will do. Internet of Things will drive more big data analytics. So Internet of Things will create massive volumes of data, time series data, and IoT analytics will become a specialized category and discipline. So this is the forecast done by a company called Forrester, and also another company called Gartner has estimated that enterprise data will increase 650% over the next 5 years. So you can imagine the amount of data we are going to generate. So to analyze all these data, you need a special category or specialized discipline in studies to do that. So that's why you will see that most of the universities around the world are now opening courses on data science and data analytics, because this is not an easy job. It is a very difficult process. Okay, I don't say it's a difficult discipline, it's a difficult process, because as I had mentioned earlier, we are trying to provide individualized solution for 7 billion people based on a lot of inputs that we get about them. So 7 billion people have got multiple inputs for them, for each individual, and imagine to do the analytics and come out with what's happening around them and so on, try to find out and provide them with the solution. That's a very huge task. Next is again, what is the prediction is IoT will drive a shift from selling products to providing services. Okay, Microsoft and Adobe have already shifted to this model. Those days we used to buy Microsoft Office. Today we subscribe to Microsoft Office for a particular fee for 1 year, and then they'll give you access to one computer or 6 computers, or maybe if you are running a business, you pay a little bit more. They will give you for more computers in your office for a year. And Adobe also has shifted to this model. Why is it so? Because they will be able to collect a lot of data by providing this service, and thereby they can improve their products in a continuous manner. Those days they have to assume a lot of things what you will do with Microsoft Office. Today they can see what you are doing with Microsoft Office, and Microsoft can improve the product quality and what they provide in the software immediately. Maybe every 3 months they can issue a new version, and your software will keep on updating as long as you keep subscribing. Okay, and next is IoT security. Because of all these data that is being transmitted back and forth from your computer to other servers at the back, security becomes a big concern. Whether people can see what you are typing on the document or not, whether Microsoft records all those things or not, becomes a significant concern for many organizations. And also a lot of companies do invest in this security apparatus, be it software or hardware, and this is expected to slow down the IoT adoption, because a lot of them may be worried about the data that will be stolen, and which might be passed on to their competitors. Next is virtual and augmented reality will add a new dimension to the IoT for both consumer and enterprise application. So again, there is a lot of VR and AR things that are coming up. So you can see online there are so many AR videos being posted on YouTube and other websites, where you can wear the specs, the box-like thing which you wear, and then you can actually see what's happening from the other side of the world. You don't have to be at that particular place. For example, you want to have a tour of the White House. Yeah, it might be possible by sitting in India. You don't have to go there. You can just walk through the whole White House using this type of or you want to visit Niagara Falls, you can just go and visit by just sitting in India. You don't have to travel, especially during this pandemic time when people are not able to travel. These things help people to just relax and de-stress themselves. Okay, and again, we come back to the amount of massive volumes of time series data, and IoT analytics will be a specialized category and discipline. This is on the education part. The previous one is more on the business and so on. This is on the education. The next one is on the automobile sector. 10% of the drivers will use new auto accessories which are connected to the internet. Today, I think you all know there are music entertainment systems which you fix inside the car, which basically and mostly some of them are Android devices. They can connect to the internet and download or stream music. I think in India you have Spotify, you have Wink, Netflix, and so on. They can stream data through the online connection which your car provides. Okay, either you can have a separate SIM card, or you can hook up the entertainment system to your mobile phone as a hotspot, and then you can stream videos, music to your car. And also companies like Tesla, they do upgrade their car software over the air, same like what they do for your phones. Okay, you can go and update your apps and everything which are there for Tesla using this. Your car is always connected to the internet. And you will also find that a lot of companies will now report numbers of connected products. Okay, for example, Tesla may no longer, sorry, forget about Tesla. Maybe take a company like car company like Toyota. Toyota can now tell people, I have 1 million cars which are connected through the network to the internet service, through which so what happens here is through which data can be streamed back. For example, if Spotify or Netflix finds that 1 million Toyota cars is a valuable connectivity, they can have some special package for transmitting video or audio music to the cars which are connected through Toyota servers. Okay, so Toyota by that gains some value because Toyota provides some business to Netflix, and so Toyota's value in the market value increases. This is on the business side. Okay, next is the World Economic Forum predictions for 2025. 92% believe that 10% of the people will wear clothes connected to the internet. To be honest, just a day back, I saw while browsing the internet, they have come out with a mask. I think now mask is getting famous because of the pandemic. I saw a mask with a LED display, which is connected to an app to your phone, and you can display messages through the app, and it will be displaying some advertisement, or you can put some funny messages on your mask. Okay, so it is already there. It's just a matter of time where people may wear, I think youngsters love to wear t-shirts with some slogan on that. So maybe it's more attractive to them to have different slogans every day. Okay, so just one t-shirt, they can have different logos, slogans every day. It looks like they are wearing different t-shirts. Okay, so it's something which may happen, and it has started happening as well. And then 89% believe that 1 trillion sensors will be connected to the internet, which needs to be seen. The sensors can be, again, as I told you, it can be your ECG sensor which is there on your watch, and again about 70% believe that 50% of the internet traffic to homes will go to appliances and devices. As I had told earlier, your washing machines, your air conditioners, all can be connected to the internet. And then about 85% of the population, world population, believe that 10% of the reading class will be connected to the internet, which is already happening. Google came out with the Google glasses. Now Apple is trying to come out with the glass as well. I think they are planning to release it by the beginning or somewhere by the middle of next year. So which is going to be something to be watched out, because when Google came out, there were a lot of privacy concerns, because people can take pictures without you knowing that they are taking pictures. Okay, so there was some privacy concern, and moreover Google just came out as a proof of concept idea, and hence it was taken out, and now there are companies which are looking into how to come out with that type of devices. And the effect of IoT data analytics, it has a lot of effects. Okay, one is disruptive technologies can bring change which incumbents cannot deal or cope with. For example, in India, one of the important disruptive technology was Ola and Uber, by which taxi drivers lost the market overnight. Auto drivers lost the market overnight, and all of them had to jump into that new technology model, where the cost is already fixed. When you book a taxi or an auto, the cost is fixed. Okay, so you cannot now argue or bargain over what is shown in the meter, whether the meter is running fast or slow. All those things need not be worried about, but it is something which brought some cheer to the general public, but it actually did not bring a cheer to the auto driver community or the taxi driver community, because they lost a certain amount of revenue on that. Okay, and then economies of scale are evaporating. Like for example, Amazon, So you don't have to store everything in your warehouse. Amazon can store it for you. All you need to do is put up a shop, just connect between these warehouses, and you take the order and the warehouse will do the shipping. So those days we used to buy cheap things from those big shops where they used to buy in large volumes and the price is usually down. Okay, so those things are now evaporating, and then businesses are because of that, businesses are becoming nimble and flexible. You can't sell this, you switch to another one, which is very easy. Those days it was not very easy. You set up a shop to sell textiles and suddenly you find that textile is not selling well. You want to sell something else, maybe vessels or whatever it is. It was very difficult. So now it is all there. It's just only online. You go and create more web pages selling some utensils. Yeah, you can do that. So businesses are nimble and flexible, and no one can assume traditional basis of competitive advantage will last. For example, those days when you got off from the railway station, you have to pick up the auto or the taxi which was parked there, and you have to accept the rate which they proposed. No way you can argue on that. But nowadays things have changed. So here you just get on from the station, you book a Uber or Ola, and then you take it. So it's the taxi drivers and the auto drivers cannot think that, yeah, I can depend on this type of crowd. It is not happening as well. Okay, so this is the traditional versus modern way of doing business. Okay, so things keep changing. We have moved to digital, and Uber also can give you some suggestions to take a taxi or an auto, or maybe if you are a regular user of Uber may think of giving you a small discount when you book the next time. Okay, which may not happen if you are booking the same taxi driver 100 times as well. Okay, so that's something, and this is how the traditional base, Nokia can never depend on the traditional base. People thought people will be buying Nokia, but then when smartphones appeared, people shifted their base because smartphones offered more than what people asked for, and they all moved it. Okay, next we move on to the type of data analytics. Okay, so there are these type of data analytics: descriptive statistics, exploratory data analytics, confirmatory data analytics, predictive data analytics, and text analysis. Okay, so let's look into briefly what these are all about. Okay, the first one is descriptive statistics. So here you provide a simple summary about the sample and about the observations that have been made. Maybe you look at the data, as I told you earlier, you just look at today's data and say, hey, it looks like the traffic is heavy there. How do you do that? You just simply observe the data where number of vehicles are standing in the particular road. You can tell, yeah, there is a traffic jam. Next is exploratory data analysis. And this is an approach to analyze data sets to summarize their main characteristics, often with visual methods. Maybe we just say how the data varies. For example, you analyze for one whole day, the data set for one whole day. Then you say that, hey, the morning 7 o'clock the traffic is high, afternoon 12 it is low, evening 4 it is high. Yeah, by looking at it, I can say something about the characteristics of the traffic. Next comes the confirmatory data analysis. Now, confirmatory data analysis is you evaluate and find out whether the exploratory data analysis which you did earlier actually is correct. Okay, so quantifies the extent to which deviations from a model could be expected to occur by chance. Okay, so you just do a confirmatory test. I think in chemistry, I think if you all have done a chemistry lab, you would have done this, the salt analysis. We find out what salt it is, and then we do a confirmatory test. Okay, so that will basically tell you whether it is actually that particular salt or not. So here also it is about the same. So the EDA and CFA, the exploratory data analysis and the confirmatory data analysis, should go hand in hand. Exploratory data analysis is like a detective work. Okay, it is a process of gathering evidence. You just go and collect data and then you present it. It's like a court trial. You present it to the court. They find out which is true, which is not true. Okay, so normally what happens in a court trial is the law enforcement agency normally presents the evidence, what they have found out by the collection, by the data they have collected. So the judge basically goes through all that, and then each side, he looks at the data from each side and tries to come to a final conclusion, saying that whether the evidence collected by the law enforcement agency points to a criminal offense or not. Okay, so sometimes it is there, sometimes it is not there. So yeah, it is something like that. So basically both should work hand in hand. One cannot work alone. Exploratory data analysis alone cannot solve the problem. The confirmatory data analysis is needed. Okay. The next is predictive data analytics. This uses many techniques like data mining, statistics, modeling, machine learning, and artificial analysis to analyze current data to make predictions about the future. For example, you have a large volume of data. Okay, so then this predictive analytics can be used to predict the future. For example, if you know when the traffic is going to be heavy, yeah, you can predict for the future. Okay, Sunday the traffic will be less, Saturday traffic will be high, but if Sunday is a festival day, yeah, maybe the traffic is going to be heavy. So all these things you can predict with the amount of data you have collected. Next comes the text analytics. This is process of collecting high quality information from text derived through devising patterns and trends through means such as statistical pattern learning. This is what some companies do. I think during the last election there was a lot of issues with this type of analytics that was done by a company called company from London, which took all the data from Facebook. It did some analytics on what was being talked in Facebook. Okay, and then they derived and gave it to certain political parties, and which they made use of during their election campaign. Okay, so there were some issues on that, how whether data is safe or not. Yeah, this is the privacy issues I was talking about. We are worried about whether our data is going to be secure or not. So this is another type of analytics, because people write in using different words. So you need to find out what words, what model they all use, and then you need to find out what people are actually talking about, what people are interested about, and so on. So that may help a lot of other people as well, especially businesses. Okay, so we have seen about what is IoT, what is data analytics. Let's look into some of the applications where these things can be applied. The first one is healthcare. Healthcare is very important. You need to provide quality healthcare. We'll see how it is going to be there. Then comes the elderly people activity monitoring. Again, next is transportation. I have given enough examples on transportation now. Agriculture, traffic management as well. First, let's look into the healthcare. Okay, the inclusion of IoT gives decreased costs. For example, you don't have to go and meet the doctor every day. Certain things can be done through computers. For example, you are measuring the blood sugar of yourself. Maybe you are a diabetes patient and then you want to do the blood sugar measurement. Nowadays, you don't have to go to the hospital, and you have the machine which can measure it for you. And if these machines are connected to the hospital, then the hospital servers can give you a feedback saying that, hey, watch out, your blood sugar is showing some increase or decrease compared to 6 months earlier. Maybe it has increased slowly. We may not have noticed. We thought it is within normal, but it can give you some heads up saying that it is going up. Next is the improved outcomes of treatment. Because the doctor now has a lot of information about your blood sugar variation, he can give you a better treatment, and that can give you a better outcome. And then that leads to improved disease management, reduced errors, and enhanced patient experience. Okay, because now the patient, without visiting the doctor, maybe he visits only once in 6 months, he gets a better experience in how his disease is being managed. So that is about the healthcare, and this picture shows about these sensors. Okay, so you have a lot of these sports fitness bands and handheld devices and so on. All these can be connected to the doctor's office, so the doctor can basically or the hospital can basically analyze this data. And to analyze this data, you don't need a doctor in the first place. Some of these data are very well known. You can straight away give a diagnosis using a computer. If you have an artificial intelligence program running on the servers of the hospital, that computer can give you some suggestions on what needs to be done. Okay, so that's something on the healthcare. Next comes the elderly care. I think in India there is a issue. People live. India is a big country. Okay, people may be from the southern part, but he is working in the northern part. The parents are staying back home in their own hometowns, or people are living overseas, like myself. My parents are back home in India. How do I monitor them as they get old? I can leave my job and come here to take care of them. Neither, sometimes some of the elderly people may want to move in with you. Yeah, then it is fine. But some of them, they find it difficult because they cannot leave their home. They feel like they are attached to the home. Their friends are there. Their circle, the friend circle is there. So they may not want to leave their hometown and come and reside with people overseas, or with even say from Tamil Nadu going to Delhi. Maybe they find that they do not know anyone. So why would they want to be there? So they don't want to go and live there. They will want to live back in their hometown. So how do you monitor them? Putting a CCTV is a solution. Yeah, but then it intrudes into their privacy or watching what they are doing. Instead, if they can have all these bands which tell you what is happening, and if all this data is moved into the cloud, and there is a service, okay, a particular company provides a service to collect all this data and gives you information to the son or daughter to who they are, who they have authorized. Maybe like, for example, there is a fall sensor. Okay, if somebody has fallen in the house, in the toilet or somewhere, and if the fall sensor can give a notification to you, you can straight away call the ambulance to go to the house to pick up, or you can call your friend next door who is living to your parents to go and see what is happening there. Or maybe if their heartbeat is not regular, then you can ask them to go to the doctor, or you can ask the doctor to visit them as well. So these things are something you monitor them remotely. You are not watching them physically doing things. You basically say, for example, a person opens the fridge 10 times a day. Then suddenly for the last 2 days, it is opened only for once a day. So you know that something is not right. Maybe they are sick, they are not eating, or they are having issues with the fridge. Okay, so in any way you can understand you can collect all this data and put it on the cloud, and then a particular company, currently there are no companies doing this. This is another business idea I'm just giving you all can think about it. Currently there is nobody doing this. In future, if some company comes with this, it will be helpful to a lot of people who can take this data and then get back to their parents. Okay, say for example, you can call back and ask what happened, have you not been eating, or whatever it is. You can just make a phone call and find out what is happening. All these things don't need a big, don't think the sensors are going to be very complex. Your fridge already has a switch which switches on the light and so on. So you can use the switch as a sensor to transmit data to. Only thing, the fridge needs to connect to the internet, so you need to put a device to collect the data. That's it. And this enables the elderly to be independent. Sometimes old people, as you all know, they do not want to be, they feel like if you are monitoring them very closely, they feel like they are not independent. They'll say, yeah, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Yeah, you need to leave them to be on their own as well. And the service, it can be connected to the emergency services as well. Okay, so this is some sort of connection we are talking about. We have a lot of sensors. We have heart sensor. You can have the diapers are there. If any senior people are wearing diapers, and if the diaper is wet too much, and if they have not changed it, maybe they are sick. Okay, you may have to call someone to go and check on them. Yeah, you can basically find out from a lot of these sensors which are already available. Okay, next is the transportation. Okay, here we are talking about connected vehicles. Okay, these days connected vehicles are getting popular, especially after Tesla came out with a car that can be upgraded over the air through the internet and so on. And also you have to know that all your cars, the modern cars, have got a lot of sensors. All these sensors are monitored, managed by a computer inside the car. So everything is there. Only thing, it has to be transmitted to a centralized location using an internet service. Currently, all this data is taken out by, when you take the car for servicing, they have something called the OBD port, which is under your steering column. So they just plug a computer in, they download the data, they know what's wrong with your car. So basically this data, if it can be transmitted to a service center, they can already tell you whether there is something wrong with your car or not, or the computer there can tell you, hey, your engine pump is not working properly, maybe it may fail in another 1 month. So whenever you find time, you better drop in by the service station, and maybe it can give you some prescriptive analysis saying that you go to this workshop near your house, they are giving 10% discount on the same fuel pump. Okay, so that's about that. And then because of this connected vehicles, because of these vehicles getting connected, autonomous driving is made possible. People may think that, yeah, we just put sensor, the car will drive automatically. No, you fix cameras and sensors, and all these cameras and sensors are connected to a centralized server which does all the analytics and tells the car back saying that, hey, that's a dog, that's a cat, that's a human being walking, that's a human being going on a motorcycle, there's a car in front of you. Because the car does not have enough capacity, the computer is a small computer, it cannot do all this complex calculation. So what they do is, they do the calculation in a different place and bring it back to your car. And this is why 5G is getting popular these days. 5G is where data travels very fast and the capacity is very high. Yes, 4G is very fast as well, but 4G does not have the support that capacity. So 5G supports the capacity, and that's why 5G is being promoted in a very in a rushed manner, because that makes all these things possible. Remote healthcare, remote operations, all these things are made possible because if the doctor, there is a specialized doctor who can operate on a particular surgery. Okay, say maybe it's a heart surgery, but the doctor is not able to come to that particular clinic at the time. He can do the operation remotely from his other hospital. Maybe he is there in US, he wants to do an operation in Apollo hospital here in India. Yeah, he can do that. I think some of the hospitals in India are now slowly moving into that as well, but not on a complex level, but still it is in a starting level. And this is something which we did earlier. This is the device which you see in the car, the one which is circled. This device will actually measure the speed at which you are traveling, the braking force, the way you turn the car, how softly you are driving or how hard you are driving your car. and that is linked to the insurance company. So every year when you go for insurance renewal, this data is transmitted to them. They usually give some discount. Okay, so this model is not available in Malaysia, but it is available in US. So some company, one of the insurance company was testing with some of our staff cars in our university. So I just took a picture of that. But in US it is already available. So if you drive the car very nicely, they'll give you a discount when you renew the next year's insurance. Okay, so this is on the transportation. Next is agriculture. This is one of the most important thing which India can look into, tracking soil and weather conditions. Okay, currently because of climate change, things have changed. There's a lot of pollution that has happened and the soil has been polluted. The farmer, normal farmer, does not know all these things. People think that everything is normal and they go and do the harvesting, the seed planting and everything in a normal way, and the crop fails because rains don't come on the given season because of climate change, and also the soil does not support that type of plant because of pollution that has happened nearby. Okay, so all these things needs to be sensed. Okay, and also because of the, if it rains heavily and floods, the crops are destroyed. If it doesn't rain, the crops dry. So there's a lot of things that needs to be learned again. We cannot depend on old models to run all these things. So if some company in India provides this type of service, this might alleviate the issues that are faced by the farmers. Okay, so you can put sensors on the fields to study the salinity of the soil, the water moisture content of the soil, the pollutions that are inside the soil, whether the seed will germinate or not, and all those information can be given. Okay, so there is one company in US which is doing this type of service. It's called John Deere. It's started manufacturing tractors. Then later they moved on to this type of devices. So they put on these devices and they measure, and it will tell you how much water is needed, when to water, and all those things, and you can remotely control all those things. So if the fields are so big, all these things can be done easily using their system. Okay, so that is on the agriculture. Next is on the traffic management. This reduces wasting time at the traffic, and then it can alter traffic signal patterns for emergency vehicles, intelligent traffic signals where signal timings are adaptive. I think I have given you a lot of examples on this earlier on the traffic pattern. So for example, if you have, I think in India, I don't think many places have this type of loop traffic sensors. In most countries, they have this. There is a loop antenna placed on the road, and that is connected to the traffic signal box. So if there is a car on top of the loop, then it knows that there is a traffic there, and the signal tries to change the timing. And also it can count the number of cars which are there on the loop, and you can do some sort of primitive calculation and change the signal timing, etc. And also, if there is an emergency vehicle coming, if there is a ambulance which is coming or a fire service truck is coming, how do you change the signal? So on the image on the left, you can see there is a fire engine. It keeps transmitting a signal. The traffic signal at the junction picks up that signal and turns the path for the emergency vehicle to green and the rest to black, to red, so that everybody can stop. The fire engine or the ambulance or the traffic police or the police department can go through that one. So it makes life easier for everyone. Otherwise, the driver of the ambulance or someone has to watch out the traffic a lot because he is already under stress to keep driving fast to reach the hospital. So all these things help to improve the quality of life. Okay, so in all these things, security is an important issue. Okay, IoT devices are constrained resource devices. As I told you, IoT devices are small sensors, small processors. They cannot do a lot of complex calculations. So also the power required. If you are putting on remote places, if the power is run by battery, you need to ensure power management is done properly, and also new methods to secure devices. The data transmitted from these devices needs to be developed. Conventional methods, the WPA2 or the WPA, WEP methods which we use for authentication in Wi-Fi may not suit them well because the computational power is much less in the devices. So this is one area where there is a lot of efforts that are needed. Okay, next is challenges in implementing this IoT. The first one is high economic cost. To change from the existing model to another one, of course, it is going to cost you a lot, and then the business model adaptation. For example, how do you change your business model? Your company is collecting a lot of data on your server, but currently all the companies consider that as a liability. Running the servers 24 hours a day, storing that much of data, they consider as liability. But how do you monetize, or how do you make money from that data which you have? So that is the new business model that has to be adapted, which is it takes time for companies to be convinced, and also a lot of unclear economic benefits depending on the country where it is being implemented. Next is social. Okay, privacy concern. People always think that your data is being stolen, this guy steals my data, that guy steals my data. All these privacy concerns are there, and then reluctance to change. Always people use this argument: when it is not broken, why try to fix it? Okay, things are working, why try to change? But changes do come. If we are not changing, there are people who will overtake us, and then we will be left at the back, and then we will not be once the attitude to change does not come in, you will not change anytime in future, which might bring a lot of disadvantage to the economy and to the country as a whole. Okay, last one is threat of redundancy. People are worried about you're going to lose jobs. People have to be retrained, which the companies needs to look into as well. Because if you have an employee for say 10 years working in your company, he is more loyal, he can do certain works much better. So you better retrain him rather than appointing a new person. So companies also should take into concern all these things. And next is political. Political in terms of a lack of regulations, standards and forms of certification, and unclear legal issues and data security. For example, if your credit card information is stolen and then somebody purchases online, how easy it is for you to cancel the credit card and get another credit card. That is the regulation, the standards and forms of certification. Certain countries, it is very difficult. You need to file a police complaint. The police will try to find out. By the time the police finds out, only then the bank will issue you a new credit card. But certain countries, as long as the bank is clear that your card was misused by someone, they'll just refund the amount into your account. Okay, so this is something like a goodwill gesture by the bank as well. Rather than you go to the police, report it and so on, it is a goodwill gesture which keeps the customers in as well. Okay, so otherwise the customer may leave the bank and go and get a credit card from another bank, and which the bank loses business. Okay, so it all happens because of the unclear legal issues. Okay, so all these things are another challenge. Next is organizational. If you come to the company itself, they are worried about the IT security issues, reliability and stability of communication systems, whether your internet is stable or not, and need to avoid IT snacks, protect the know-how. Some companies are very much worried that their know-how will be stolen by the competitor. Lack of adequate skill sets to expedite the transition. Okay, so for example, the workforce is not qualified or suitably qualified to expedite the transition. They may have to learn new things to do the transition. Yes, they have to do what the company has to support them. Okay, which doesn't happen because of the low top management commitment. for them, as long as the company is making money, why bother? Okay, so things will change as well. And the last one is lack of qualified employees, which the management also has to find out ways to upgrade them. Okay, so these are some of the research which we do in our university. I'll just give a brief of it before I finish. One is minimization of non-revenue water losses using data analytics and improved management of water assets based on data analytics. Study on congestion control schemes for constrained application protocol. The first two are on non-revenue water. What is non-revenue water? Water that leaks through the pipe and it is not being charged with the customer. That water is lost. So if you are pumping 1 million gallons of water into the pipe every day and 500,000 gallons just goes off, so you have wasted money in purifying 500,000 gallons of water. You are only charging the customer for 500,000 gallons of water, so that thereby the company runs in a loss. So in any city, whether you go to US or India or you come to Singapore, Malaysia, a lot of these water pipes are become old because new developments keep coming in, and some of the developments are 20-30 years old, and the pipes do rust. They also get damaged. Leaks are always keep coming up. Okay, you can't stop that leak from happening. Leak will happen. So you need to find a way of managing the leak detection and so on. So that is what we are trying to do. And also with that, we are proposing to the water company how to manage their water assets like pipelines and so on. Okay, the next one is congestion control schemes for constrained application protocol. Constrained application protocol is the one which we use in for the Internet of Things. As I told you, these processors don't have enough power, so we use a different protocol. But then congestion scheme needs to be implemented, so we try to come out with some new schemes to improve the congestion control, which is already existing. Okay, so these are some of the work. So losses happen due to the leaking of water in main pipelines or theft of water by illegal tapping, and sensors along the pipe listen to the flow of water. These are acoustic sensors. We use acoustic sensors, and data from the sensors are analyzed to detect leaks, which is a very simple process, as long as if you can, because when there is a leak, the flow of water is disturbed. There are tubular flow, there are different types of flow. I think those mechanical engineers should be able to know the fluid dynamics. Okay, so the flow of water basically creates some waves, and that waves are altered by the leak. So if there is a change in that, then you know there is a leak. Only thing is you need to localize the leak, where the leak has happened, which also is possible, quite simple. If you put two sensors, if the leak is between those two sensors, then you can find out how much the wave intensity on either side, and then you can find out. And then the water authority can mobilize the personnel to repair the leaking pipes. So basically what this does is, this gives you a instantaneous or near instantaneous, because you cannot measure the the vibration in the pipe during the daytime, because traffic is there, people are walking, so that gives some vibration on the road, and that will be picked up by the sensor as well. So during the midnight, when there is no traffic or anything, we do the detection. So when we do the detection, it is there is no vibration, and we can sense accurately. So what we do is we look at it for 3 or 4 days, and then the water company can finally tell that there is that is a leak. How it is different from the current system? Current system is, when a small leak happens, nobody knows, because the water keeps going into the ground. Only when the leak becomes big, and then when water starts to come out of the earth, people will know that there is a leak, which may take about a month or two. But this one, within 2 or 3 days, we can tell that there is a leak, and then when the leak is small itself, we can go and shut the leak down. So that's the difference between this system. A similar system has been employed by companies in US, Singapore, and even in Malaysia. but what we are trying to do is to come out with a locally developed solution so that to keep the cost low. So the data analytics can be used on the data to predict when the pipe will fail. Now, if I have a large volume of such data, I can now go back and see when the pipe will fail. By the time it is about to fail, I can say that because of the corrosion on the pipe, there is already a disturbance in the flow. So when I start detecting that disturbance, I can tell the pipe has corroded. When the disturbance reaches a certain point, I can say that it will fail definitely within a week or two, okay, because the previous cases have been like that. So that is something which we can do that. And also we do data analytics on individual consumer water usage. So basically it tells the company whether the particular person is taking water, or if, because sometimes people may not know if there is water leaking inside the wall. So basically this can give them some info. The water company can give them some info saying that, hey, this month your water usage suddenly looks higher. I don't know whether you have used it or whether there's a leakage in your house, okay. And also it gives them which customer will pay the bill properly, which customer may not pay the bill properly, and so on. So it's used for the financial modeling as well, okay. And the predictive analysis can help the company to replace pipe in a proper time so that it minimizes water losses. This project uses predictive and prescriptive analysis. So security of IoT data, we are also looking into it, because the water meters will be connected using ad hoc networking. So new security methods will be proposed, which is, we are still doing that. Next is the congestion control protocol for IoT devices. IoT devices are constrained devices. So we need to have new lightweight algorithms for doing anything. So for congestion control, we are looking at making the existing one even more lighter. Okay, so that's the new technique we are studying. So I hope this has given you an overview of this Internet of Things and what are the applications that are possible. And just to highlight, to give a final highlight, all these Internet of Things are going to lead to service-based industry. It is no more going to be a what do you call a owner-based industry. Like for example, I buy a car, it's my car. It's not going to be like that. It is going to be subscribe to a car. So I subscribe the car for 2 years. I think in India, Mahindra has already started. Across the world, a lot of companies are doing that. You subscribe the car for 2 years, then you return the car back. Okay, anything that happens during the time, the company will do the servicing for you for free. Okay, so that type of subscription service is the way forward for any industry. Okay, so I think this gives you a heads up on what are the issues that are currently there. Social, okay, the threat of redundancy, lack of skills, and so on. So there's a lot of industrial psychology that is involved. A lot of business models, new business models are involved. So all these things gives and a lot of things that needs to be done at the legal side. Okay, there are a lot of things that needs to be done. It's a long way to go. But anyway, this, I suppose it would have given you a heads up on what are the issues and so on. Thank you all for listening to my presentation. If you have anything, maybe you can contact me through IFERP. I thank you, IFERP, once again, and also all the participants of this conference. And I wish good luck for all the participants who are presenting their papers in this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morris Ezra, for delivering the keynote speech. Next, I welcome all the participants to session 1. I invite Huang Hizia to present study on the planar shock curved wall, boundary layer interactions.
Hello everyone, my name is Huang Hexia. I'm an assistant professor in Nanjing University of Aeronautics and Astronautics in China. It's my great honor to be here to present some of our recent researches. Today, I'd like to share with you about the study on the prana shock and the Cold War bond-rail interactions. My presentation will be introduced in the following 5 parts. First, I will make a brief introduction about the shockwave bond-rail interaction. Shockwave bond-rail interaction occur in all practical transonic, supersonic, and hypersonic vehicles. The practical impact can be very harmful and must be factored into design trade-offs. On the exterior of the aircraft, shockwave bond-rail interaction can cause loss of control authority, peaks in surface thermomechanical loading, and unsteadiness of all nature that can induce adverse structural response. In internal flows, shockwave bond-rail interaction can enhance pressure losses and distortion, and in extreme cases could trigger potentially events leading to unstart. The fundamental physics of shockwave bond-rail interaction are best examined in many situations. Some of the more common configurations are shown in this figure. Here, we give a canonical flow structure of an incident shock impingement. This is the incident shock impingement on the flat plate, which interacts with the boundary layer. As the pressure increases rapidly when the flow occurs the shock, a very large adverse pressure gradient generates, which forces the boundary layer to separate. Thus, a separation shock, this is the separation shock, is then formed. When the separated flow attaches to the surface again, a strong reattachment shock, this is a reattachment shock, will be formed. Pickers conducted experiments on the interaction between the oblique shock generated by the sharp fin and the boundary layer on the cylindrical surface, and the interaction characteristics are studied experimentally. The study found that the curvature of the cylindrical surface can change the flow structure of shockwave boundary layer interaction. Compared with the case of interaction on a plane, the flow field generated by the interaction is quite three-dimensional. Exactly, for a high-speed missile, such as the German Army missile, the ramjet engine, which contains several rams, if the engines are arranged in an X configuration, the ram induces a prana shock, and which incidents on the missile body and interacts with the boundary layer on the missile body. Such flow is very complicated. Here, we simplified the such kind of flow into a prana shock, Cold War boundary interaction, and this is the simplified model. Just in our paper, the basic flow characteristics of such kind of flow are studied by safety method, and the effects of the wall curvature on the interaction flow structure are evaluated. Next, I will talk about the numerical method and the physical model. This is the physical model, and the diameter of the missile body is 200 millimeters, and the angle of the shock generator is 20 degrees, with its width is about 80 millimeters. The thickness of the boundary layer at the entrance of the calculation region is determined to be 15 millimeters. In this paper, the two-equation model K omega SST in ANSYS front is selected as the turbulence model, and the flow control equations are discretized in the second-order upwind scheme, and we assumed that the working fluid is the ideal gas, and the Sutherland formula is utilized to fit the viscosity. And this is the incoming flow conditions. The incoming Mach number is set to 3, and the flight height is 10 kilometers. And the other parameters, such as the static pressure and the temperature, can be calculated by the standard atmosphere condition. The computation domain is filled by hexahedral grids in order to accurately capture the flow field near the shock, and the grids near the shock wave and the region near the wall are all dense. The total grid number is about 300 millions. And the numerical methods are validated by our experiments. Here we compare the numerical and experimental surface pressure on the wall. As can be seen, the numerical results are inconsistent with the experimental, indicating that the numerical method we used is accurate. Next, we will give about the numerical results. Here is the force structure on the symmetry plane and on the curved wall. As can be seen, the near wall airflow on the curved wall starts to deflect at the upstream influence line, then converges at the separation line together. Finally, they diverges at the reattachment line. The separation line starts at the leading edge of the separation region of the symmetry plane, and the reattachment line starts at the rear edge of the separation region. Due to the adverse pressure gradient generated after the incident shock, the reverse flow takes place in the separation bubble. The intersection line between the inviscid planar shock and the cylindrical body is an elliptical line which sweeps backwards. Due to the influence of the three-dimensional sweeping effect, the two shock waves are curved, including the separation shock and the reattachment shock. They are both curved, forming a three-dimensional interaction zone. And this is the shear stress lines on the cylindrical body. As can be seen, the separated air near the symmetry plane moves towards the side, which is mainly due to the fact that the pressure on the symmetry plane is firstly compressed, which has a higher pressure compared to the side. Then, this low energy flow is driven by the transverse pressure gradient move to the side, forming a swept back separation line and a reattachment line. Between these two lines, a large-scale vortex is located. The vortex is also traveled downstream, which is different to that in traditional shock boundary layer interaction. In order to study the spatial evolution of the three-dimensional flow structure, the pressure on four sections around the Z direction are extracted and shown in the left figure. All the sections are parallel to the symmetry plane. The distance between each section and the symmetry plane, this distance is defined as dz, and the dimensionless distance is defined as dw. The right figure shows the pressure distribution on the four sections. As can be seen, the pressure around different sections are similar. It first increases rapidly due to the separation shock, then it reaches the highest point at the reattachment point. After that, it decreases. From dw of 0, this is 0 to 0.4, the onset point, this is the onset point of the pressure rise, moves downstream. Meanwhile, the highest value drops down with the increase of dw, which indicates that a positive transverse pressure gradient is formed. All the results, including the aforementioned flow structure and the pressure signals, indicate that the interaction flow is quite three-dimensional. Next, in order to capture the main determinant factors for such kind of interaction flows, the effect of the wall curvature is altered by the shock strength, as well as the thickness of the boundary layer keeps unchanged. The diameter of the body is set to 160, 200, 400, and 600 millimeters respectively. And here, the flow structure of the four cases are compared. Due to the three-dimensional effect of the curved wall, the shock wave is swept backward after its instance on the curved wall surface, and the degrees of the diameter of the metal body, the sweep effect of the intersection line gets intensified. That is, the flow becomes much more three-dimensional. As can be seen, with the increase of the diameter of the metal body, the scale of the interaction region around the flow direction shows a gradually increasing trend, and the curvature of the wall separation line decreases significantly. That is, the size of the separation region becomes larger, and when the diameter increases to 400 millimeters, this is a secondary separation here occurs. The aforementioned effects can also be clearly visualized from the pressure distribution on the center line. As this decrease of the wall curvature, the upstream influence line increases significantly, indicating an increase for separation size. In addition, due to the secondary separation in the middle region, the pressure rise at the initially disturbed position gradually increases first and then decreases slowly. The pressure in the secondary separation region is slightly higher than that in the primary separation region, and the back pressure gradient in the downstream of the separation region drops significantly. Therefore, the increase of the wall curvature can help to reduce the adverse pressure gradient of the interaction region and suppress the length scale of the separation. The last part is about conclusions, and these are the main conclusions we have drawn. Due to the limited time, I will not read these conclusions. So, okay, that's all. Thank you.
Next, I invite Ishita Khatri to present Evolving Education System with Cognitive Computing.
Hello everyone, I am Ishita Khatri, and on behalf of my team, I am here to present paper on Evolving Education System with Cognitive Computing. It has been written by Ishita Khatri, Girish Kumar Dixit, and Gitanjali J. As the topic suggests, first we'll discuss what is cognitive computing. Cognitive computing is a multifaceted field of research which aims at utilizing decision-making mechanisms and computational models based on psychology and human thought process. The system mimics the functioning of human brain and helps to improve human decision by making and evolving technologies like data mining, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and natural language processing. The system helps us to give the best possible answer to a given situation. Now we'll discuss the important characteristics which a cognitive system should possess. First is adaptive. Cognitive system must be adaptable to learn information. The system must be capable of processing dynamic data and gradually make adjustments as the data changes. The second property is interactive. Cognitive systems must be human interactive. It means that system should be able to interact with the user to understand its problem and accordingly suggest a solution for the problem. The system should also support interactions with other processors and cloud platforms. Third is iterative and stateful. Cognitive computing system should be able to ask questions to the user in case it needs more information from the user or if the user has provided incomplete information to the system. It should also be able to put solutions for present problems by referring to records maintained from previous issues. The last property is contextual. Cognitive computing system must be able to draw pictures of the problem with the help of details like time frame, location, and specific user profiles, tasks, or goal provided by the user. Now coming to our problem statement. One of the applications of cognitive computation is in the field of education. Being in the middle of pandemic, where everything has been shifted to a digital platform, educating students through an online system has become a challenging task. To simplify this learning process, thereby making it more effective and interactive, involving cognitive computing would be beneficial. This study emphasizes on these methods which we can incorporate in educational institutes to re-innovate the modern day education system. Let's now discuss some of the things which we can do using cognitive systems. First, introducing the system will help to promote the overall academic growth of the student by providing personalized learning for each student. Next, since the model learns from previously stored data, it can also be used to suggest further course to a student which they can remember for a particular subject. This is done by referring to data of graduated students in that field. The proposed system will be beneficial for students who aspire to clear entrance exams. Since the system knows the minimum marks criteria for the exam and also knows the pattern followed by the examination, it can be used to help students to prepare accordingly. Next, since the cognitive system knows about learning pattern of a student, it helps them to learn about the topics they have a good grasp in and also the subjects they need more practice during the examination. The recommendation for the subjects keep updating itself and it makes easy for the teacher to obtain a report for each student. The system can also be used to remind students about their deadlines for the projects and assessments. It can also provide them with the recommendations on the books they can read based on their interests and even the topics which they need more practice. The system will provide them with a detailed report about each student's progress, their strength and weakness, thereby helping teachers to make learning more effective by covering the difficult topics for the weak students. As you can see the diagram mentioned over here, we can see cognitive computing includes neuroscience, supercomputing, big data, and nanotechnology. And over here we can see cognitive computing framework. So with the combination of structured, unstructured data and audio video and applying technologies like machine learning, data mining and analytics and performing pattern prediction recommendations, the system provides us with a solution that helps to engage customers, give a productive solution, reduces risk, saves costs, and gives a secure system. Now coming to the results. As discussed in the above paper, this system should be implemented by schools and colleges to make learning process more productive for students. This system will also reduce the burden of teachers and help them to assess the students' query. Since the system involves machine learning and pattern recognition algorithms, it will learn from the past data stored in it. Hence, the regular usage of this approach can help to provide better solutions to the students based on their past learning records. Concluding my paper, I like to add that these technologies will also, as always, been a boon to us as they minimize our work and helps us to progress. And one such evolving technology is cognitive computing, and we should try to involve it in our daily lives. This pandemic has allowed us to embrace it and make learning more effective and comfortable for us. In future also, we can incorporate it with daily learning and schooling purpose. It will help students to learn more and bring better perspective about the career to choose, subjects to pay more attention, brush up their skills, and motivate them to learn new things. Thank you.
Next, I invite Hariharan M to present optical processors and optical wireless communication.
Everyone. I'm Hariharan from Sri Sara Institute of Technology. I personally thank IFERP for giving us this wonderful opportunity once again. Our research paper is about optical processors and optical wireless communications. In this modern world, we need some higher rate of processing other than the normal silicon processor, which is used by quantum computing and other types of nano computational techniques and all other types of computational techniques. Already, we have achieved the speed of sound in some vehicles and hypersonic planes, and we have also achieved the speed of light in fiber net, I mean optical fiber communication and data transmission. Why don't we achieve the speed of light in optical computing? Already, optical computing have been in many researchers have been choosing that domain, and they have made some researches regarding optical computing. Our research work is entirely different from this, and we claim that even in optical processors and optical wireless communication techniques, we can achieve the speed of light in data transmission. Handing over to my co-authors. Thank you.
Thank you, Hariharan. I'm Aishwarya. I'm the co-author of this paper. I'm here to explain few topics about our paper. Optical information processing is based on the idea of using all the properties of speed and parallelism of light in order to process the information at high data rate. The information is in the form of an optical signal or image. The inherent parallel processing was often highlighted as one of the key advantages of optical processing compared to electronic processing using computers that are mostly serial. Therefore, optics has an important potential for processing large amount of data in real time. The optical processor, which is described in this paper, will have four sections: the input section plane, the process section plane, the output section plane, and the boundary coolant. The boundary coolant consists of liquid nitrogen to eliminate the heat that is produced by processing at the speed of light. The normal silicon chips that are set in microprocessors uses copper and silicon plates for data transmission. Even in quantum computing, some of the processing output section uses silicon plates for transmission. The fiber optic cables can be used for transmitting the data into the input section plate, which is made up of silica and borosilicate and other type of glasses such as aluminum, Kevlar, and polyethylene. Thank you. I now hand over to my co-author, Shweta.
Thank you, Aishwarya. I'm Shweta, one of the co-authors of this paper. I'm going to share a few things. Once the input section receives all the data for processing the optical processor, which is divided into many sections according to our design. The receiver of the optical fiber cable and the processor are made in such a way that they can be easily replaced. Similarly, in the process section plane, there is a glass that could sustain a high heat, also undergo certain disability during the working. While experiencing a very high amount of heat for the very first time leads to the melting down of the processor. In order to prevent this kind of a situation, in our model, we have included a liquid nitrogen filled cryogenic container, also known as a boundary coolant. This boundary coolant is located at the outline of the boundary of the processor. So when the temperature exceeds 69 degrees Celsius, the boundary coolant opens from its frozen state and cools down the entire process, thus prevents the processor from melting down. This enables the data to be processed at light speed without any difficulties. The output section also contains a special female socket which is easy to disconnect the processor at extreme conditions. Now moving on to the development. All optical transistor and optical switch that's controlled by a single photon, allowing light to govern the administration and the transmission of light optoelectronic chip that computers use the light for the transmission of the transmission or movement of the information. New memory chips store data not electrically but with the help of light. The first on-chip non-volatile storage require constant supply of energy. The basis of technology, so-called phase change material. Handing over to co-author Yukesh. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Yukesh. I am the co-author of this paper. Why optics for computing? It propagates signals within the same or adjacent fibers with essentially no interference or crosstalk. And light signals move significantly faster than electrons. Low leads transmission and has a large bandwidth. Challenges and prospects for these optical computers. Optical computers is a non-linear process in which multiple signals must interact. Cascade, cascadability. Cascadability, it is the integration of optical goes in complex problems. What is the resolution of these optical computers is invention of chalcogenides. What are the advantages of these optical computers is power efficient. Because this power efficient consumes less power. High parallelism. It performs billions of small computations in parallel at the speed of light. High performance. High performance helps in processing at the speed of light. Next, talk about optical memory. Optical storage devices such as CD, DVD are now not in use. All have moved to the cloud and flash drives. Optical computing and optical processors highly demand the use of some optical memory devices such as optical RAM and optical ROM. According to our devices, optical RAM and optical ROM, the modified type of SSD which is similar to optical RAM and optical ROM. Optical SSD will achieve a speed greater than 5 times of normal SSD, and we have named it OSSD. The memory wall has been a critical power and performance for computing system. For over 3 decades, processor speed has been improved as an annual rate of 52%, while the memory speed has only improved of 7%. The newly discovered ultra-fast ORAM was resolved this long-standing electronic RAM access bottleneck.
Optical wireless communication. How could we implement this? Well, we have designed a special device called a light eminence device, which is made fully with an assumption. So my suggestion is everything starts with an assumption. So I believe that this paper could be an eventual start for upcoming researches in optical wireless communications. So a specific device called LED, light eminence device, will be made in such a way that to absorb all the visible lights and the UV rays that are already made to carry data. After absorbing the data via light, the light eminence device will transmit the data to the MLEDS, moving light eminence device satellite, above the entire city with low elevation. From that satellites, the data lights are again transmitted to the receiver end where the data is fed finally. If this small idea is implemented in one small city, the communication requires no amount of EMR for communicating inside the city. So you can ask that what if the climate changes and other natural calamities are affecting this idea with such a great impact? Well, that could happen everywhere. If that happens, instead of placing a moving mobile satellite, we could place one big tower in the center of the city called a light eminence tower, which is built in the center of the city to communicate easily with the help of fiber optic cable laid underground. If this is successfully implemented in one big city, then after certain development, the entire world would rely on this type of optical wireless communication. In future, the mankind will use those harmful EMR in only outer space for space research, and it is enough for that researchers. So we don't need any EMR waves to communicate inside Earth and with inside 2 or 3 cities. First, if this plan working out very well, we could implement these plans at a very high rate. So this is our project. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Arneshwa and I'm here to talk on few topics. First one is optical flip-flop. Optical flip-flop is based on an optical device known as mass Zener interferometer (MZI). MZI steers up the light from one source to one or more destination. The design of an optical flip-flop has a two coupled MZI. Each MZI has an external source of a continuous wave bias signal with a specific wavelength, say gamma 1 or gamma 2. Light pulses may be sent through set and reset state of the optical flip-flop. Consider a situation when optical flip-flop is set on state or set state, then MZI1 is in on state, which allows its input signal, that is the continuous wave signal gamma 1, to travel from MZI1 to MZI2. which makes the second interferometer, which is MZI2, to be in an off state. In contrast, when we consider MZI2 to be in an on state, then it allows its input signal, continuous wave signal, that is gamma 2, to travel from MZI2 to MZI1, which makes MZI1 to be in an off state. For each of the flip-flop state, the signal traveling between the MZI1 is called as dominant signal. In first case, gamma 1 was the dominant signal, and in second case, gamma 2 was the dominant signal. And um, in the optical flip-flop, logical 0 means that gamma 2 is the dominant signal, and logical 1 means gamma 1 is the dominant signal. As long as the continuous signal are fed to the flip-flop, the cell can retain the state of MZI. Second is structure of an optical RAM. Inspired by the structure of the conventional RAM cell, the first optic RAM cell was invented in the year of 2008. The electrical SRAM cell includes two-axis transistor controlled by a word line to enable reading, writing, and changing the contents of the charge-based memory element. Prior to every axis, the word lines are activated to establish two electrical paths between the memory and the word line. The bit line carry charge from or to the cell, and if necessary change the contents. The SRAM element is able to retain its content even after disconnecting. And in contrast, when we see the optical static RAM cell, it includes an optical flip-flop and two access gates. The access gates are used to access the flip-flop. The optical static RAM cell is designed to operate in three states: hold, read, and write. The memory cell operates in a zero access when it is in a hold state, and in a hold state, the optical flip-flop remains unchanged. During a write operation, access is set to 1. Therefore, the two bit lines, the first bit line, if it is set to 0 and second bit line is set to 1, it results in the resetting of the flip-flop. And when we consider the first flip-flop, first bit line to be in 1 and second bit line to be in 0, then the flip-flop is said to be in a logical 1, which is the set state. For an optical read, the access posit is set to 1. The logical value stored in the memory cell is determined by detecting the dominant signal, and this optical RAM cell is said to be operating in a rate of 5 gigabytes per second. And when we see the new generation of optical RAMs, professors and researchers from all over the world are trying to bring a true change to this domain. And recently, a group of researchers from Greece have examined an all-optical RAM cell which done the actions of reading and writing the contents in a rate of 10 gigabytes per second. This is a 2x improvement to the prior technologies. The new RAM cell is made up of a flip-flop that is composed of a new photonic crystal, indium phosphide. Indium phosphide is used as a photonic crystal because it has a high electron velocity property and it suits well for this particular context. Indium in the proposed design, the switching time at the access gate was nearly 20 picoseconds, and the integrated indium phosphide optical flip-flop latching was of 70 picoseconds. So totally, the access latency was less than 100 picoseconds, which enabled the optical flip-flop to operate in a rate of 10 gigabytes per second. And handing over to Hariharan. Thank you.
Finally, in this paper, we have presented the importance of optical processors in optical computing. Research results contribute strongly to the development of new research topics such as biophotonics, nanophotonics, and optofluids. In spite of challenges, scientists speculate the development of exascale in speed of light optical computer by this year, 2020. And we have also discussed our own idea of implementation of optical wireless communication through light emitting devices and MLED satellites. We have also specified our own designs of optical RAM, optical ROM, and optical SSDs, which will be used in future recommendations as soon as possible. We finally claim that by enabling optical wireless communications, The usage of EMR waves are not recommended, which is harmful to certain living things. We hope that this idea could be an eventual start for optical computing and optical wireless communication for future use. Thank you.
Next, I invite Shushrut Mohan to present study on deep learning and its applications.
Hello everyone, this is Sushruth. Under the guidance of Sunita Madam, we have written a paper titled Study on Deep Learning and its Applications. This is part of the video presentation for WCASET 2020 conference. Coming to the introduction to deep learning. Deep learning is this new field of machine learning which has grown rapidly and has been applied to most traditional application domains as well as to some new areas that present more opportunities. Basically, deep learning can be said as networks which are capable of understanding data which may be structured or unstructured, labored or unlabored, and apply unsupervised or supervised machine learning algorithms. Deep learning architectures such as deep neural networks, deep belief networks, RNNs, CNNs have been applied to various fields such as computer vision, speech recognition, and natural language processing. Our paper contains brief introduction to deep learning with literary survey of various research papers which have made a significant impact and contributed to deep learning. Coming to the architecture of deep neural networks. Deep neural networks usually contains a hidden layer between input and output layers. Basically, the layers between the input and output layers are concatenated such that the output of the previous layer is equal to the input of the next layer. Deep learning mainly depends on two phases, which may be termed as training and inferring phase. The training process consists of identification and evaluation of vast quantities of data, whereas the inferring step discusses the assumptions and marks fresh unexposed data on the basis of its previous information. I will be going through some of the papers which we have included in the literary survey and go through some of the key highlights in this paper. The authors observed that deep learning architecture usually required huge amounts of training data and employed random initialization methods. So they proposed a stack feature learning module for the design of deep learning architectures. So when implementing MDA, or the architecture which they proposed, the weight measures of marginal Fisher analysis were updated layer by layer, unlike the previous model's traditional methods. This reduced the model's requirement of large quantity of data. MD also showed better performance than the traditional models with limited amount of training data due to supervised pre-training method rather than the random initialization methods. The authors were inspired by the observation that hyperspectral pixels can be regarded as sequential data. They proposed a newly designed activation function called as parametric rectified tannage or pre-tannage for hyperspectral data pre-processing in RNNs. What this did was provide an opportunity to use fairly high learning rates without the risk of getting stuck in the divergence. They then used their models for hyperspectral image classification, by which it outperformed SVM, RDF, and CNN. Their model considered intrinsic sequential data structure of hyperspectral pixel for the first time, representing a novel methodology for better understanding, modeling, and processing of hyperspectral data via a sequential perspective. In this paper, a deep learning based traffic flow prediction method was proposed. The author proposed a stack autoencoder model which is trained in a layer-wise greedy fashion, inherently including the spatial and temporal features and correlations to learn generic traffic flow features. The greedy layer-wise trained algorithm was applied to retrain the deep network, and fine-tuned process was carried out to update models parameters to improve the prediction performance. This was applied on the PEMS dataset and was compared with BP neural networks, RW, SVM, and RBF neural networks, the results showed that the proposed model was superior to the competing methods. In this paper, the authors aimed to use deep learning to detect tuberculosis in chest radiographs in an annual workers' health examination dataset and compare the performance of CNN networks based on images only and CNN networks including demographic variables. After testing with the huge dataset, they found out that including the demographic factors actually improved their process. After classification process on the dataset, they found out that except ResNet and Inception ResNet V2, the ORG differences between images only and demographic only CNN models were statistically significant, indicating that the demographic variables may be useful for training CNN models and increasing performance with regard to tuberculosis classification. It was observed that standard backpropagation methods worked only well for training data but did not generalize well for unseen data. So the authors proposed what is known as dropout restricted Boltzmann machines or RBMs. So these RBMs fit right into this network. So the basic idea is to randomly drop units from the neural network during training. This prevents units from co-adapting too much. At test time, they observed that it was easy to approximate the effect of averaging the predictions of all these thin networks by simply using a simple unthin network that had smaller weights. This actually improved the performance of neural networks on supervised learning tasks, especially in vision, speech recognition, document classification, computational biology, obtaining state-of-the-art results on many benchmark datasets. In this paper, the author explores two deep learning approaches such as stacked autoencoders and CNNs to increase the resolution and quality of low-resolution images by simulating long-distance acquisition sensors. They worked on the Cassia Iris V3 internal database, which consisted of NIR images. It was seen that CNNs performed best for small downscaling factors. It was also observed that using the log-Gabor comparator CNN using fine-tuning and transfer learning approach beats all the other methods except for the lower resolution, where the PCA performed better. In this paper, the authors explored multiple approaches for extending CNNs into video classification on a huge dataset, and they reported the gains in performance were strong feature-based baselines. They applied the input at two spatial resolutions, namely being a low-resolution context stream and a high-resolution Fourier stream. They observed that CNN performed much better and there was no cost in accuracy. They applied this model to UFC 101 dataset. It was found that CNN architectures are capable of learning powerful features from weakly labeled data that far surpasses feature-based learning methods in performance. The results also indicated that while the performance is not particularly sensitive to the architectural details of the connectivity in time, a slow fusion model consistently performed better than the early and late fusion alternatives. In this paper, using a multi-layer deconvolution network, a visualization technique to project the feature activations back to the input pixel space was proposed. Many large CNNs were trained for image classification in a number of ways, and a novel way to utilize the activity within the model was presented. It was seen that the features were far from random, uninterpretable patterns. Many desirable properties such as compositionality, increasing variance, and class discrimination as one ascends the layer was shown. It was shown that while training for classification, it was highly sensitive to local structure in the image and is not just using broad sense context. An ablation study on the model revealed that having a minimum depth to the network rather than any individual section is actually vital to the model's performance. In this paper, a capsule-based deep neural network sign poster translator for an American Sign Language fingerspelling has been presented. Using adaptive layer pooling, the network was trained with variable-sized images as they produce fixed length matrices, which adds scale invariance and prevents network from overfitting. These feature matrices are then fed into the capsule layer, which provides transitional invariance and robustness to the framework. Even though the images were rotated slightly, the framework produced good results. The research also confirmed that using both pooling and capsuling routing on the same network can improve the network's accuracy and convergence speed. In this paper, the problem of designing models to leverage a recently introduced approximate model averaging technique called dropout was considered. The authors introduced a new model called MaxOut, which was designed to both facilitate optimization by dropout and improve the accuracy of dropout's fast approximate model averaging technique. This was applied on MNIST dataset, and it was observed that this model exploited model averaging behavior because the approximation is more accurate for max-out units than for tanh units. It was also seen that max-out propagates variations in the gradient to different choices of dropout masks to lowest layers of a network, ensuring that every parameter in the model can enjoy the full benefit of dropout and more faithfully emulate bagging training. Coming to the applications of deep learning is applied in various fields and sectors. Here are few examples. Automatic speech recognition. So advanced AI and ML algorithms are able to recognize spoken words and then convert it into the required textual format. A simple example would be the auto-generated YouTube subtitles. Here the video languages are understood by the ML and AI deep learning networks and converted into captions. Image recognition. So basically, deep learning architectures are applied to automatically identify people, objects, and places in images. They are also used for labeling images for descriptive tags, searching for content in images. Some examples would be guiding autonomous vehicles and driver assistance systems. Natural language processing. This involves understanding and manipulating human language. This is one of the broadly applied areas in artificial intelligence. The speech and languages are uncovered for further extraction of valuable data. The contextual patterns between text and languages are discovered, and insights in text and audio are used. Drug discovery. AI and ML tools are used for various stages in drug discovery. This would involve target validation, identification of prognostic benchmarks, analysis of digital pathological data and clinical trials. Image restoration. This involves removing noise from images and restoring valuable information in them. Recommendation systems. This would involve product recommendation system, music recommendation system, etc. Examples would be product recommendation system in Amazon or video recommendation system in YouTube. Financial fraud detection. This would involve stock market and online banking analysis to make sure there is no anomaly in data and there are no fraudulent bots or users which are committing financial fraud. Deep learning is an increasingly growing computer learning technology. The high usage of deep learning algorithms in various fields demonstrate its success and its virality. Some of the future aspects of deep learning in some of the applications would include working of deep learning networks with sophisticated and non-static noisy scenarios, improvement in deep networks by improving the diversity between the features, compatibility of deep neural networks in unsupervised learning online environment, maintenance of wide repository of data, assessing ECG signals to predict heart diseases using deep learning, usage of deep learning in object detection and tracking in videos. Deep neural networks with fully autonomous driving with high accuracy and precision. Thank you.
Next, I invite Suchit JY to present plastic pollution and plastic waste management.
Plastic pollution and plastic waste management. Plastic contamination is the collection of plastic items and particles in the Earth's condition that antagonistically influences natural life, untamed life and environment, and people. Plastics that go about as toxins are ordered into miniature, meso or large-scale trash in light of size. Plastic pollution is emerging as a top threat to ocean ecosystems. The study done reveals about how much plastic does the world produce, how do we dispose of plastic produced, which sector produces and uses the most quantity of plastics, and what are the best possible alternatives. Introduction. The term plastic includes material composed of various elements such as carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, chlorine, and sulfur. Plastics are macromolecules formed by polymerization and have the ability to be molded into any shape depending upon the application for a reasonable amount of heat and pressure in the process. It is one of the new form of chemical materials which pose a serious threat to the environment. PVC, polyethylene, polystyrene is largely used in the manufacturing of plastics. Rapid population growth, urbanization, and industrial growth in the 21st century has led to severe problem of waste generation in urban centers. The waste quantities increased from 46 million tons in 2001 to 65 million tons in 2010 over a span of only 10 years. Reports say that per capita per day production will increase to 0.7 kg in 2050. Plastic production. Today we produce around 350 million tons of plastic waste every year, which is equivalent to almost the weight of the entire human population on the earth. The PROS measures that more than 8.3 billion tons of plastic has been made since the mid-1950s. About 60% of the plastic has ended up in either landfill or regular territory. The CPCB's annual report saw the data on the status of execution of plastic waste management rules 2016 were introduced by only 13 state pollution control boards or pollution control committees. The report were inferred that hard and plastic waste made was 660,787.85 tons per annum. Today, India creates around 9.46 million tons of plastic waste, nearly of which 40% stays uncollected, 43% is utilized for bundling, the greater part of which is single use. We can see in the depicted picture the plastic consumption by application in India. The major types of plastic are classified depending upon their physical properties, may be classified as thermoplastic or thermosetting plastic material. Thermoplastic materials can be formed into desired shapes under heat and pressure and become solids on cooling. Thermosetting materials which once shaped cannot be softened or remolded by the application of heat. Almost out of the total uses of the plastic, the 80% of the plastic remaining are the thermosetting plastics. The categorization of plastic is depicted in the below as PET, HDPE, PVC, LDPE, PP, PS, others. The sources of plastic waste. Global plastic market share by application of 2019 is shared in this depicted picture, and also the domestic use is shared in the left hand side of the picture. Environmental issues of disposal of plastic waste. Plastic pollute beaches and oceans. Plastic bags litter the landscape. It kills animals. During product manufacturing, it releases various types of gases which are very much harming the environment. Burning of plastics generate toxic emissions such as carbon monoxide, chlorine, HCl acid, dioxin, furans, amines, nitrites, styrenes, benzene, 1,2,3-butadiene, CCl4 and acetaldehyde. Littered plastic give anesthetic look and choke the drain. Lead and cadmium pigments, commonly used in LDPE, HDPE and PP as additives, are toxic and are known to leach out. Plastic waste management. It's evaluated that in 2019, around 55% of overall plastic waste was discarded, 25% was copied, and 20% was reused. Of the plastic waste made some place in the scope of 1950 and 2019, only 9% was reused. As per CPCB reports, plastic has to 8% of indisputably the solid waste, with Delhi making the most outrageous sum, followed by Kolkata and Ahmedabad. Only 60% of unquestionably the plastic waste is being reused. Disposal of plastic waste is a serious concern in India. New technologies have been developed to minimize their adverse effect on the environment, such as plasma pyrolysis technology, liquid fuel, co-processing in cement, polymer blended bitumen roads. The other old conventional technologies are recycling, incineration, landfilling. The old technologies such as recycling of plastics through environmentally sound matter, it can be divided into four types: primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. It's done in step-by-step procedures such as selection, segregation, processing, and landfilling is the conventional approach to waste management. But space for landfills is becoming scarce in some countries, whereas in India they're importing the waste from the other countries to dump the waste into the land by getting paid. A major drawback to landfill from sustainability aspect is that none of the material resources used to produce the plastic is recovered. Converting waste into a resource. The major concern is the quality, which when converting waste plastic into fuel resources are smooth feeding to conversion equipment, effective conversion into fuel products, well-controlled combustion and clean flue gas is fuel user facilities. Liquid fuel production. Based on the pyrolysis of the plastics and the condensation of the resulting hydrocarbons, thermoplastics are used for conversion. Decomposition occurs at higher temperatures such as 500 degrees Celsius. The byproducts from the process are sludge and gas are reused. Incineration. It reduces the need for landfill of plastic waste. However, there are concerns that hazardous substances may be released into the atmosphere in the process. It can be used with the recovery of some of the energy contained in the plastic. The useful energy recovered can vary considerably depending on whether it is used for electricity generation, combined heat and power, or a solid reuse for co-fueling of blast furnaces or cement kilns. The new technology are polymer blended bitumen road. A brief description of technique used in laying road using plastic waste is given in the figure, such as by collecting the plastic waste and segregating and storing later on, cleaning and drying of plastic waste, then shredding it into required shapes, then making it a stone aggregate by heating it to around 150 to 200 degrees Celsius, then shredding the polymer waste by adding stone aggregates for 30 to 40 seconds, then coating it with the bitumen, then laying it on the road. Co-processing of plastic waste in cement kiln. It is used as alternative fuel and raw material. It indicates substitution for primary fuel and raw material by waste. Waste materials such as plastic waste are used for co-processing, which are referred to as alternative fuels and raw material. It is one of the advantages of recovery method used in existing facilities, eliminating that need to invest on other plastic waste practices and to secure landfilling. Plasma pyrolysis technology. It is the thermal disintegration of carbonaceous material in the oxygen-starved atmosphere. When optimized, it will most likely the formed compounds are methane, carbon monoxide, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and water molecules. The conversion of plastic waste into liquid fuel. The entire process is undertaken in a closed reactor vessel followed by condensation. The waste plastics, while heating up to 2700 to 3000 degrees Celsius, convert into liquid vapor state, which is collected in condensation chamber in the form of liquid fuel. The tarry liquid waste is topped down from the heating reactor vessel. The schematic flow diagram of the process is shown in the figure. By collecting, storing, shredding, feeding, and flowing the waste into the vessel in presence of catalyst, then movement of liquid vapor into condenser, then tapping the liquid flow. Conclusion drawn by this study. Plastic waste management has assumed great significance in view of urbanization activities. Various strategies are being devised to mitigate the impact of plastic waste in India. In case current examples continue, by 2050 there will be 12 billion metric tremendous measures of plastic in landfills. Around 60% of plastic waste in India is reused. As shown by various evaluations, just 9% of all plastic anytime made generally has been reused according to the United Nations. Thank you all.
Next, I invite Dr. Garima Srivastava to present Effect of Talent Management Practices on Employee Management, the mediating effect of job satisfaction in FMCG sector.
Hello everyone. I am Dr. Garima Srivastav. I have prepared this presentation on my paper Talent Management Practices as a key factor on employee engagement and mediating effect of job satisfaction in FMCG sector. I have prepared this paper along with my colleague Dr. Namita Srivastav. So what is talent management? It is a specialized task taken up by the organization to hire best talent or brain to perform a strategic process of the organization. It involves careful hiring of individuals for integrated growth of organizations as well as individuals. Retention of employees is one of the most focused objective of talent management in the organization. As the people leave the organization, it involves cost such as hiring, training, experience of the individuals. Therefore, to hire another employee will involve another cost to the organization. Thus, managing talent comes into play and offers lucrative measures through which individuals can be productive as well as involved in processes of the organization. We have prepared this study as an exploratory method in the state of Uttar Pradesh with the objective of understand the role of talent management practices as a key factor in defining employee engagement among employees of FMCG sector. To examine the impact of factors of talent management practices on the employee engagement in FMCG sector. This is my first objective. The other two objectives are to evaluate the relationship between employee engagement and job satisfaction, to explore the mediating effect of job satisfaction. Now, as far as research methodology is concerned, on the basis of literature of review by many researchers, we have came to a contact that 5 variables can be identified to measure talent management practices. So, for which we have taken independent variables as well as dependent variables. Independent variables are acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is defined as something accomplished successfully by means of skills, practice, and perseverance. So, acknowledgement raises feeling of self-worth, correspondingly a higher self-esteem. As far as financial aspects is concerned, financial aspects are considered as a monetary incentive in the form of salary and other benefits and allowances provided by the organization. They also include insurance, medical benefit, leave, travel allowances, accommodation, and other perks given by the organization. All these lead to satisfaction of the people. Thirdly, we can take up career prospects. That means how far career planning is being done by the organization on the part of employees. Now, this career planning is based on key skills and potentials among the employees and provide them with the opportunity to fill the suitable positions within the organization. When we talk about work culture is that culture made up of a set of rules, regulations, principle, values, mindsets, and thinking which impact the activity and productivity of the people in the organization. So, a conducive work culture is expected in the organization. Last one, professional development. Development means planning, programming, and activities taken up for development of employee performance with reference to the approach that behavior, learning, and expertise. Development is a continuous learning process to exercise to achieve competency in performing present and future jobs in the organization. Now, when we talk about dependent variables, what is employee engagement? Employee engagement is focused approach which sets up the organization's climate in which employees try to give their best in every day. Similarly, when we talk about job satisfaction, it means a sense of fulfillment or attainment in the employees towards his job. Satisfaction can be derived from monetary as well as non-monetary offsets of the offers of the organization. It can also be performance related and work culture related. Thus, job satisfaction is a multi-dimensional approach in which the employee feels satisfied, and it means it will increase only when the organization provides the factors which lead to job satisfaction of the employees. Now, coming down to the research methodology. For the purpose of research methodology, we have taken up 7-point Likert scale ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Then we have 161 employees from the FMCG sector. The research tool was AMOS was used to test the structural relationship in the hypothesized model. The maximum likelihood fitting function was used to estimate the parameters. For the purpose of the research, we had 4 hypotheses, out of which the first one was the significant hypothesis. There is a significant statistical relationship between talent management, employee engagement in relation to mediating effect of job satisfaction. The other hypothesis was H2. There is statistical significant direct relationship between talent management and job satisfaction. Third, H3. There is significant direct relationship between talent management and employee engagement. H4. There is significant direct effect between employee engagement and job satisfaction construct. So, when we talk about data analysis, we have done 2 kinds of tests. First of all, we have tested the data for reliability and validity of the data. For that purpose, we have calculated Cronbach alpha. The value of Cronbach alpha coefficient is found to be more than 0.6 in all the cases, which shows internal consistency between the variables. So, this data is sufficient for preparing the fit models. Now next comes the result of measurement model. We had 4 results. We have calculated chi-square, TFI, CFI, PCFI and RMC. All these values are almost near to 1. That means they are most of all acceptable for preparing the structural fit model. RMC is not near to 1, that is 0.12. When we see the hypothesized structure model, we can see here that talent management and job satisfaction had a correlation of 0.92. That means they are directly related, and they are the significant relationship between talent management and job satisfaction. Similarly, when we see relationship between talent management and employee engagement, we can see it is 0.17. That means it is non-significant. That means it is not directly related to talent management. Now, similarly, when we see the relationship between employee engagement and job satisfaction, we can see the correlation between them is 0.81. That means they both can be directly related. So, from this structural fit model, we can see that talent management is directly related to job satisfaction, which is directly related to employee engagement. But employee engagement is not directly related to talent management. Now, if we analyze the hypothesized structured model, we had following data. C-min comes out to be 3.5, NFI 0.771, TLI 0.78, PCFI 0.69 and RMC 0.126. All the path loadings are significant with good indices of model fit. Hence, re-evaluation of model is not required. And at the same time, answering the research question and the hypothesis of the study is also not required. Then in that case, we have come out with the assessment of the 3 hypotheses, the last 3 hypotheses, out of which only one was rejected, that is H3, which says that talent management is directly relation to employee engagement. So from this hypothesis, we can see that talent management is directly related to job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is directly related to employee engagement, but employee engagement is not directly related to job satisfaction. Now, we can see that there is a direct effect of 0.17 between the 3 factors. That means mediating effect is there. The cause of indirect relationship between talent management and employee engagement with the mediating effect of job satisfaction within the FMCG sector can be seen very easily through this table, which says that talent management is directly related to job satisfaction, which is directly related to employee engagement. In the conclusion, we can say that path analysis of structure equation modeling tests the relationship among the independent variable, that is talent management, and dependent variable, that is job satisfaction and employee engagement. To test the relationship, these variables have been hypothesized and hypotheses are tested. The result indicates that there is direct causal association between talent management and job satisfaction, whereas indirect causal relationship between talent management and employee engagement mediated through job satisfaction. That means job satisfaction has a mediating effect between the 2 factors. Efficient talent management policies and practices increases job satisfaction and loyalty of the employees. Therefore, more loyal employees are contented and they work for the organization with more productivity and efficiency. Thus, they remain in the organization for a very long period of time. So, for the purpose of references, we had the following references. Thus, we can say that if talent will be managed in the organization, we can have people for a longer period of time in the organization. Thank you.
Next, I invite Mamta Kapoor to present numerical approximation of modified Burgers equation with modified cubic NUAH B-spline differential quadrature method.
Myself, Mukta Kapoor. I am from Department of Mathematics, Lovely Professional University, Punjab, India. In this presentation, I am going to present my work, which name is Numerical Approximation of Modified Burgers Equation with the Modified Cubic NUAH B-spline Differential Quadrature Method. In the next slide, I have given a gist of abstract of my this paper. So what I have presented in the abstract, it is provided here. Like in the present paper, authors have implemented the NUAH B-spline based EQM. I want to tell you that what do we mean by NUAH? It means non-uniform algebraic hyperbolic B-spline based differential quadrature method. So this is the complete meaning of this term NUAH B-spline based EQM. In order to solve the modified Burgers equation in the numerical aspect, modified cubic NUAH B-spline basis function is used for the numerical discretization of the spatial derivative. And after that, modified Burgers equation is converted into the system of ordinary differential equations. Later on, those set of differential equations is being solved by SST RK43. It means the strong stability preserving Runge-Kutta 4-3 scheme. The numerical results of the proposed method are compared with the some of the previous methods which are already present in the literature, and as well as the exact solution. Stability of the proposed method is checked by using the matrix stability analysis method. In the next slide, some keywords are given, or we can say that highlights of the research paper are given, like modified Burgers equation, differential quadrature method, non-uniform algebraic hyperbolic, it means NUAH B-spline, and after that matrix stability analysis method. In the introduction, first of all, I have given the intro about modified Burgers equation, which is given like this, as its name is suggesting that it is a modified form of the Burgers equation. So, Burgers equation's concept was originally given, which is already mentioned in the literature, and after that it was tackled in this reference too, and its modified form is like this, where mu is known as the coefficient of viscosity, x is the spatial derivative, t is the time derivative. T is representing the time, so which is denotes space and time respectively. So after that, some of the literature work is mentioned here, that many of the researchers have provided theoretical as well as numerical aspects regarding Burgers equation. So like Cole has presented the relation between theory of turbulent motion and shock wave theory. Cole also presented the exact solution of the mentioned equation, and then analytical solution of the Burgers equation is fetched, but only for some limited values of the coefficient of viscosity. That is why finding the numerical solution of the Burgers equation have attained the attention of most of the researchers, as it is always possible, as it is always said that in every case finding the analytical solution is not possible. So that is why numerical solution, this one, is one of the most appropriate and demanding thing in the field of numerical mathematics. In this slide, actually, some of the numerical methods are mentioned, which are being developed by some of the researchers, like Mittal and Singh gave the numerical solution of Burgers equation. Mittal and Singh also presented the numerical solution of periodic Burgers equation. And after that, Ogis et al. Presented a finite element approach for the solution of Burgers equation. Gardner et al. Gave the scheme of Galerkin finite element for the solution of Burgers equation. Cutley et al. Provided the solution of Burgers equation by implementing the notion of least square finite element method with the help of quadratic B-spline. Ramadan et al. Presented the numerical solution of Berger's equation by implementing septic B-spline. So as earlier I also mentioned that the modified Berger's equation is based upon the Berger's equation, but it is having this form. After that, some more review work is presented here in this one, like Ramadan and L. Ganaf presented the numerical scheme for solving modified Berger's equation. Duma et al. Implemented the lattice-Boltzmann method to obtain the numerical solution of modified Berger's equation. Roshan and Bhamra gave the numerical scheme based upon the Petrov-Galerkin method to solve modified Berger's equation. Zhang et al. Presented the notion of local discontinuous Galerkin scheme to get the numerical solution of modified Berger's equation. Braxos presented the numerical scheme of fourth order in order to solve the modified Berger's equation. Thereafter, the main concept which I have implemented in this paper, that is known as differential quadrature method. Differential quadrature method was firstly introduced by Bellment et al. In 1972 in order to solve the partial differential equations. DQM has become very popular due to its ease of application and acceptable results. The basic idea behind the DQM is to find the weighing coefficients of the functional values at the different node points by using the concept of basis function. It means by changing different type of basis function, different type of numerical methods can be developed. With the aid of weighing coefficients, spatial partial derivatives can be easily approximated at the different node points over the entire region. Lot of work has been developed by different researchers in the area of DQM, differential quadrature method. Various differential quadrature methods are present in literature which are based upon a variety of test functions. Like Bashan et al. Used the quintic B-spline DQM in order to solve the modified Berger's equation. Mittal and Jiwari used the notion of DQM to get the solution of coupled viscous Berger's equation. Mittal and Dahiya presented the concept of modified cubic B-spline DQM to solve hyperbolic diffusion equation. Jiwari implemented the notion of Lagrange interpolation polynomial and modified cubic B-spline DQM for getting the numerical solution of hyperbolic partial differential equation with Dirichlet and Newman boundary conditions. Thereafter, some more noticeable work is given by Arora and Joshi. They gave the concept of trigonometric B-spline DQM to solve the one-dimensional hyperbolic telegraph equation from numerical aspect. Arora and Joshi also implemented the notion of modified trigonometric cubic B-spline DQM in order to solve 1 and 2 dimensional Berger's equation numerically. Mittal and Dahiya presented the concept of modified cubic B-spline DQM upon a class of non-linear viscous wave equations. Thereafter, the numerical scheme which I have applied, which I have implemented in my present work, its name is modified cubic NUH B-spline based differential quadrature method. So in this paper, a numerical scheme is developed which name is NUH B-spline DQM. It is applied to get the numerical solution of modified Berger's equation. In this scheme, NUH B-spline of order 4 is used as the basis function in the differential quadrature method. But why? That is the main question here. As in differential quadrature method, finding the weighing coefficient is the main key. So that is why for getting the value of the required weighing coefficients, for getting the improvised results, modified form of the cubic NUH B-spline is taken into the practice. The non-uniform algebraic hyperbolic B-spline of order 2 is defined as follows. So in equation 3, this is NUH B-spline of order 2, where a recursive relation is also presented with the help of equation 4, and after that the value of this delta mj is given by equation number 5. After that, by using the NUH B-spline of order 2 and the previously mentioned recurrence relation, NUH B-spline of order 3 can be developed by this particular equation number 6, and that would be like this: phi m comma 3 for this x. So this is the NUH B-spline NUH B-spline of order 3. Similarly, in order to find the NUH B-spline of order 4, this type of recurrence relation is being used. So this one is known as the NUH B-spline of order 4, which is implemented in order to get the solution of modified Berger's equation. After that, this is the main formula of differential quadrature method in order to approximate the spatial derivative of rth order. If r equals to 1 is used, we can easily get the spatial partial derivative of first order, and in order to approximate the spatial partial derivative of second order, this formula will be used. So after that, in order to get the numerical solution, some system has been developed, system of equation has been developed, which is provided in this one, equation number 14. So after that, this tridiagonal matrix is obtained along with some column vectors. After solving this system of equations, then I implemented the developed numerical solution over the modified Berger's equation. This equation 15 got obtained, and which was actually solved by the SSP RK43 scheme, strong stability preserving Runge-Gutta 43 scheme. And in order to check the accuracy on proposed scheme, two types of errors I have taken into account, like L2 error norm and L infinite error norm, whose formulas are provided here like this. And for order of convergence, this type of formula is being used. After that, some of the numerical examples are also provided, and the accuracy of the proposed scheme is checked by the means of L2 and L infinite error norms, as well as the order of convergence is also provided. So with the help of example 1, I have tried to check the accuracy of my developed scheme. So it will become understand in a better way. I will explain this table. In this table, I have shown here L2 and L infinite error norms at different grid points at the different time levels. As you can see here, at the time level 2, and at the time level 2.5, and for the different values of these grid points, I have obtained the L2 error norm and L infinite error norm. And in the table 2, I have obtained the L2 and L infinity norm. I have actually obtained the L2 and L infinity error norm in previous table, but in this table I have compared the numerical solution and exact solution at the time level 1.5. So it can be easily seen that numerical solution here at time level t equals to 1.5 is approximately 0.004, and exact solution is 0.0038, which is approximately same. And here we can see that 0.0066 and here 0.0064. It is also approximately same. It confirms that whatever is my scheme, whatever scheme I have developed, that is producing approximately exact results or accurate results. Thereafter, accuracy of the scheme is also shown by the graphical representation of exact and numerical solution at the different time levels. So in these graphs, what I did actually, I just represented the numerical solution by some plain line, and after that I just exact solution actually by some plain line, and after that numerical solution by the dotted line. So it can be easily see that both of the exact solution line and numerical solution line are merged with each other. It means numerical solution and exact solution are getting matched with each other. So it is confirmed by the graphical representation also. Thereafter, one more graph I have shown here. In this graph also, at the different time levels, t equals to 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 and 1.5, I have just explained that how the obtained numerical solution is getting matched with the exact solution, and you can also see here that at each and every time level, exact solution and numerical solution are exactly matched. After that, stability of the scheme is also checked with the help of matrix stability analysis method, and obtained eigenvalues are under the required range. So this is the graph for the stability of the proposed scheme. I have taken here different grid points. For the different grid points, it is shown that the number of whatever eigenvalues I am getting here, those are under the range, which is already mentioned in the reference. In this section, conclusion of my research work is provided. In present paper, modified cubic NUHB spline DQM is implemented to solve the modified Burgers equation. In present paper, NUHB spline is considered as the basis function. NUHB spline function is considered as the basis function, and weighing coefficients in the DQM are obtained. After that, the reduced system of the equations is solved by using SSP-RK43 scheme. This scheme has never been implemented in literature to solve the modified Burgers equation. By checking the effectiveness of the proposed scheme with the help of L2 and L infinity error norms, it is confirmed that the present results are acceptable. Order of convergence of the present method is also provided in my paper, as well as stability check is done with the aid of matrix stability analysis method. It is confirmed that the proposed scheme is unconditionally stable, and this numerical scheme is accurate, stable, and easy to implement. It is obvious that it will help so many researchers in their future research work. So it was all about the presentation of my work. Thank you all.
On behalf of IFERP, I heartily thank all the delegates and students who have contributed to the success of the conference. Thank you all for participating in our conference. Please stay tuned for more updates regarding the WCASET conferences.